Hello and welcome to News Central TV. My name is Mazino Peel. The top stories this hour. Inspector General of Police orders investigation into police culpability in deaths and arrests of demonstrators during End Bad Governance protest in Abuja. And that's in August. Scores of bandits killed by Nigerian troops in anti-terror response in Zamfara state. And Angola sues for peace in eastern DRC, hosts talks between DR Congo and Rwanda. Details coming up shortly. Now let's begin by telling you that the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has ordered an investigation into allegations of the Nigerian police force culpability in the deaths and arrests of protesters during the August End Bad Governance nationwide protest. Amnesty had, in a briefing published a few days ago, accused NPF of using excessive force against protesters during the nationwide End Bad Governance demonstrations between the 1st and 10th of August, killing at least 24 people in the states of Borno, Kaduna, Kano, Katsina, Jigawa, and Niger State. In a briefing titled Bloody August, Nigerian government's violent crackdown on End Bad Governance protests, Amnesty said those killed included 20 young people, an older person, and 2 children. Responding in a press release by NPF's Public Relations Officer ACP Olumiyiwa Adejobi in Abuja on Monday said the allegations appeared falsified and confusing, adding that Egbetokun had ordered an investigation into the matter. Now, to discuss this, we are joined by co-convener coalition of civil society organizations, Declan Ihekere. You're welcome, sir. Good to have you here with us.
Thank you so much.
So, sir, let's first of all find out what your thoughts are regarding the investigation that has been ordered by the IG of police regarding the killings of the 24 people in the August End Bad Governance protests.
Thank you so much. I will be speaking to this issue as an authority who was part and parcel of the End Bad Governance protest, most especially here in Lagos. I will start by saying the IGP ordering for investigation is something that I will address like an aberration. Who is to investigate? Is it the same police that denied the brutality? Is it the same police that said that protesters should be dealt with? Is it the same police that said permit must be taken before you go on peaceful protests? That want to investigate what? To investigate who? Mm-hmm. To investigate the protesters, or to investigate those who investigated the protesters and charged them for treasonable felony. Mm. And for the first time in the history of this country, I've never heard and ever seen where treasonable felony has been so much trivialized. And it's been trivialized under this current IGP. It's the same IGP who was on seat and juveniles were arrested, sent to prison, and were in a ceremonial mood, released after outcry by Nigerians and people outside this country. The same IGP. For me, I think the IGP should be investigated by a higher body, and that is World Court. World investigators should investigate him because he doesn't have. You can't sit on your own case. It is true fact that Nigerians were molested. It is true fact that people were arrested, taken to prison, charged for treasonable felony. While I talk to you today, some of my comrades are still undergoing trial for treasonable felony in this country, all because they engaged in peaceful protest. One was actually being charged for treasonable felony because he has a name that sounds like a Russian, Lenin. And it's quite unfortunate. So my question is, who is the IGP to investigate? He wants to investigate himself, or he wants to reinvestigate the protesters who had already been investigated by his men? So for me, I think an entire body, new body should be created for that investigation, not for the police to sit on that investigation. But for me, again, Amnesty spoke the right thing. They were actually truthful in what they have said. However, Lagos protest was relatively peaceful because of the understanding of the officers in charge, most especially the current AIG of Zone 2, former CP of Lagos State, Fayode Mustafa, he was on top of the game during the August protest and October protest, not minding the overzealousness of some of his men who also misbehaved. Okay, I also read in that report where the police was saying that they gave the protesters maximum security that will witness our people being brutalized in Ojota, even in the presence of the police officers.
So you've actually answered most of the questions that I had for you this evening regarding the conduct of the IGP and the conduct of the police, but I'm still wondering if the police are to be investigated, under what policy and regulations would they be investigators? Do we have a police regulation that guides the police in these kinds of instances, engaging protesters?
That's where you have the National Human Rights Commission. But the case of National Human Rights Commission now is a case of who pays the piper, dictates the tune. And so I'm aware that some of my cadres in the civil society has written to international arbitrators. They have written to the World Court to actually look into what transpired. And that's why I'm still pushing that the IGP does not have the moral stand in this instance, most especially the release, the arrest, detention, incarceration of those juveniles. It's a slight on the police authority because they were not sent to prison by vigilante groups. They were actually arraigned, prosecuted by police prosecutor, being supervised by the IGP. What I expect the IGP to be saying at this point in time is to say, oh, fine, people were brutalized. Who were the officers who actually did this and this and this, and start punishing. I always keep on saying this as a veteran in activism. Look, no protester goes to protest to destroy. No protester goes to protest with a matches just to ignite fire. No. It has always been an attack on the protester by state agents. Most of the time, the police, the overzealous officers. It would have happened in Lagos if not for the fact that the then CP, Fayode, who is now the AIG in Zone 2, was able to control the situation by telling his men, don't be overzealous. I overheard some of them saying, let's tear gas them, let's fire, let's do this, let's do that. And he kept on telling them that. And I told him also, I said, if you allow your men to be overzealous, when they fire one canister, the protesters will revolt. And that was exactly what happened in other states. And I keep on saying, no protester goes on protest to destroy.
Okay. Here, now let's talk about this, the fact that during a protest there's chaos. And because of that chaos, it is very difficult for you to actually round up, in the case of an investigation, witnesses. So if the IGP is calling for investigation of perhaps police officers or teams that were engaged in these killings of 24 people in the last August protests, how do you think that it would be possible to get witnesses for these cases?
The IGP is already a witness to have released those juveniles. The question is, who arrested the juveniles? Who arraigned them? Why were they in police custody for 90 days? Was that not against the rights of those juveniles? Who charged them for treasonable felony? Those are enough ground for the IGP to do the needful. If he claims that, oh, he's not aware, as at the time the act was being perpetrated, but he's not aware that based on public outcry, genuine public outcry, people were asked to leave the prison custody. And they were welcomed with Ashwebi. To date, we don't know how much that Ashwebi cost Nigerians. And I'm saying, enough of all this. The IGP already has the fact before him that people were arrested, even because they have a link with a name that sounds like a Russian name. That has become an offense for charging somebody for treasonable felony.
Wow. I want to say thank you very much, Mr. Declan Ehekari, for giving us your 2 pence on that story. Thank you indeed.
Welcome.
Now moving on to security matters now, troops of the Joint Task Force Northwest Operation Fansan Yamma have dealt a very major blow to banditry in Zamfara State. In a fierce operation in Maru Local Government Area, scores of bandits were neutralised, while several others fled with serious injuries. According to a statement released on Monday by the coordinator of the Joint Media Center, Lieutenant Colonel Abubakar Abdullahi, the troops launched the operation following a distress call from residents and vigilantes in Yar Galadima village. The attack occurred in the early hours of Sunday, prompting the military to spring into action. Troops quickly mobilized to the scene, engaging the attackers and restoring calm to the community. In a coordinated effort, the air component of Operation Fansan Yamma deployed aircrafts to provide close air support, ensuring the success of the mission. And the chairman of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, Dr. Musa Damu Aliyu, has called on the National Assembly to take decisive action in the fight against corruption. Dr. Aliyu made the appeal on Monday during an ICPC roundtable engagement with state attorney generals in the Northwest held in Kano State. He urged lawmakers to immediately pass the Whistleblower Act bill. A move, he says, is crucial to bolster the nation's anti-corruption effort. The ICPC chairman stressed that the passage of the bill would encourage individuals to come forward with information about corrupt practices, ensuring that perpetrators are brought to justice. Now, a fire broke out early on Monday morning at Trademore Estate Market in Abuja. This is located off Umaru Musa Yar'Adua Airport Road. Now, the blaze, which started at around 4 a.m. local time, caused panic among residents. While the exact cause remains unclear, a resident suggested it might be electrical. Firefighters from the Dunamis Church fire rescue teams responded promptly, arriving around 5 a.m. to contain the flames. According to eyewitnesses, a combined effort from EFCC and Suka fire stations extinguished the fire at about 6 a.m. local time. The full extent of damage is still being assessed. To the energy sector now. The Port Harcourt refinery is now operating at full capacity following a brief scaling down for technical upgrades. Managing Director Ibrahim Onaja confirmed the facility has resumed distributing petroleum, premium motor spirit, kerosene and also diesel. Onaja highlighted extensive equipment upgrades, including new pumps and cables, enhancing efficiency and reliability. Director of Operations Moi Maidunama explained that production was temporarily reduced to address technical issues. Terminal manager Wolu Joel praised the refinery's efficiency, stating it can load 3 trucks every 15 minutes. He, however, noted a low turnout of tanker drivers. The Port Harcourt refinery, with a capacity of 210,000 barrels per day, recently resumed operations after major rehabilitation. And the Nigerian Army's 6th Division has reported major success in its fight against illegal oil bunkering in the Niger Delta. Between November 25 and December 1, 2024, it said that troops recovered 1.2 million liters of stolen crude, destroyed 56 illegal refineries, and arrested 17 suspects. The operation covered Rivers, Bayelsa, Delta, and Akwa Ibom states, targeting illegal refining sites, cooking drums, and boats used for bunkering. In Bayelsa, over 755,000 liters of stolen crude were recovered, and in Delta, troops discovered 40,000 liters of stolen products. Additionally, several vehicles and boats were said to have been seized, and illegal connections to government pipelines were dismantled. The Army says it is continuing its crackdown on economic sabotage in the region. To the minimum wage issues now, Osun State government has announced that all categories of workers in the state, including local government employees, will receive a new minimum wage of 75,554 naira 28 kobo. Kola Adeosi, the state deputy governor, who stated this during the signing of new minimum wage agreements between the state government and labor leaders, said 1 month arrears would also be paid to all public servants in the state. He added that Governor Adeleke has approved a sum of 25,000 naira as an improved pension package for all pensioners in the state. This move is aimed at alleviating the plight of the state's senior citizens in the current economic situation. This announcement comes on the heels of Governor Adeleke's 2nd anniversary in office, which was marked with a series of activities showcasing his administration's achievements. Earlier, public affairs analyst Olufemi Lawson was on the news to discuss this.
That Oshu is yet at the Eldorado. It's not even that Oshu has all the roads, the healthcare facility, the schools it requires or deserves. But the fact that there is a governor who think the people deserve more than what was available before he's coming into office, and is doing that radically, deserves commendation. So for the people, it's not about how we describe the governor on the social media or even the media, but about the fact that how it's impacting on their life. And I think from my street interaction, from my engagement with the ordinary people on the streets of Osun State, the people of Osun State appreciate what Governor Adeleke is doing. And I think that is why he's having so much of that massive support he has been receiving from the ordinary people of Osun State.
When we get back, Nigeria-South Africa hold bilateral relations meeting. We'll have the details for you when you get back. Welcome back. Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Bianca Odumegu, speaking with News Central on the sidelines of the 11th South Africa-Nigeria bilateral meeting held in Cape Town, South Africa. This meeting comes at a pivotal time for both nations as they seek to strengthen economic ties and enhance cooperation across various sectors. In her remarks following the meeting, the minister emphasized the significance of the bilateral engagement, highlighting the shared goals of promoting trade, investment, and sustainable development. The meeting provided a platform for both countries to address key issues such as technology transfer, infrastructure development, and tourism.
We considered many aspects in this 11th by National Commission. Essentially, we have several MOUs outstanding that need to be signed because we're looking for collaboration across all sectors. For Nigeria, we want to leverage on the collaboration and the partnerships that we have had with South Africa. Our economies are very large. We have several South African companies that are doing very well in Nigeria, MTN, ShopRite, and the likes. And we're also trying to create an enabling environment for Nigerian businesses also to thrive in South Africa. We have representatives from the ministries of industry, trade and investment. The minister also is here. And we want to leverage on most of those areas where we have always enjoyed great partnerships, oil and gas especially. And in looking towards the consular and migration issues, we had hoped to sign the MOU on early warning, but that, of course, will be signed next year in March when we host the political consultations in Nigeria. This is particularly important to our two nations because we want to ensure that Nigerians and South Africans continue to coexist harmoniously, and that if there are any issues regarding migration issues or consular issues, that these things can be resolved in real time to prevent any degeneration of good relations. So what we harp on is more meetings.
The International Day for the Abolition of Slavery highlights the growing problem of human trafficking globally, with Nigeria, like many African countries, facing the challenge of modern-day slavery. From forced labor and human trafficking to child exploitation, the day aims to commit to collective action against these injustices. News Central's Omolola Ololade has more in this report.
Rachel is a victim of human trafficking. Her life spiraled downwards in 2022 after she was tricked into leaving her family with the promise of a better and higher paying job in Dubai.
There was about 10 ladies there. It was not just only me. It was 10 ladies that was there from different countries. So from there, now told us that the men will come inside then we are not allowed to go outside. I was indoor for 8 months. We were indoor, so the men will come, they'll work, then the money you give it to your boss. They will not even allow you to touch the money.
Human trafficking is prevalent in Nigeria as it remains a source, transit and destination country for victims. Like Rachel, many have become victims of exploitation, organ harvesting, child abuse, among others. Experts say poverty is the biggest driver of modern-day slavery in Nigeria.
Most people, especially in rural areas, are not aware of the real dangers that are involved in irregular migration. So they engage and they embark in journeys without full knowledge of what is waiting for them. And so what happens is that linked to it, there's a growth in misinformation. A lot of the smugglers and traffickers prey on these vulnerabilities, on the fact that people don't have access to information, to sell dreams and lies to them, to sell to them the idea that it's easy to migrate if they are paid $1 million or $2 million.
Although the total number of human trafficking victims outside Nigeria is largely unknown, the government in 2023 initiated investigations into 1,242 cases, including 511 sex trafficking cases, 282 labor trafficking cases, and 449 cases of unspecified forms of trafficking, according to NAPTIP. Unfortunately, human trafficking in Nigeria goes beyond male and female adults in search of a better life. Many children are sadly being exploited, hence the intervention from the International Labour Organization to fight the scourge.
We are working with the National Bureau of Statistics. We've collected data across the country to understand the extent and the prevalence of child labor in Nigeria. And the survey findings will be launched together with the NBS in a very short period of time.
The Nigerian public therefore needs to be enlightened of the dangers of modern-day slavery to avoid falling victim to a widespread network of traffickers keen to exploit them. In Lagos for News Central, I am Omolola Ololade.
As Nigeria continues to grapple with pressing economic and political challenges, the plight of its youngest citizens often take a back seat. With increasing insecurity, malnutrition, and the growing effects of climate change, Nigerian children bear the brunt of systemic failures. News Central's correspondent Chidima Ona reports on the overlooked issues and the role of the media in addressing the struggles faced by the Nigerian child.
The Nigerian child is at a crossroads, navigating challenges that threaten their well-being, education, and future. Experts at a recent UNICEF event in Lagos highlighted these struggles, urging stakeholders and government to prioritize children's issues in the national discourse. Speaking on the protection of children and school safety amidst increasing insecurity, a media editor attributed the systematic issues to leadership failures, while another panelist countered, emphasizing the media's responsibility to cultivate public interest in the struggles of Nigerian children.
If we get our leadership recruitment process right and get the leaders who begin to prioritize what matters most, some of these other problems, we will solve them.
We need to go beyond that to build interest in the sector, for us to know that we're dealing with a cache of individuals that will determine the future of Nigeria. And the moment we do that, I think we want to see the media get involved in this struggle to better the lot of the Nigerian child.
Poor healthcare, malnutrition and climate change also plays a key impact in the development of Nigerian children. Experts urge investment in healthcare, environmental sustainability, and government accountability to protect their future.
For implementation, what also helps is strengthening the governance level, again, the bottom-up approach. We have the Local Government Council on Food and Nutrition. In a lot of local government areas, these are virtually inactive. How do we reactivate this? And this is what we're discussing.
The issue of accountability when it comes to even funding of all of these child issues in Nigeria. The issue of the Safe School Initiative comes to my mind right now. I think there could also be climate change aspect in that whole initiative because there are different aspects to it. But do you know that all the funds that we got during that period cannot and is yet to be accounted for?
While the future looks uncertain for the average Nigerian child, the opportunity to rewrite their story can begin with awareness and collective action. Prioritizing their well-being is not just a moral imperative. It is a necessity for Nigeria's economic and social development. In Lagos, reporting for News Central, I am Chidima Ona.
Coming up, Angola to host peace talks between DR Congo and Rwanda. Details after the break. Join us then. Welcome back. Now, ceasefire broker Angola will host a summit on December 15 to advance peace talks between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda over the DRC's troubled east. Since 2021, the Kigali-backed and largely ethnic Tutsi M23 rebel militia has seized swaths of the eastern DRC, displacing thousands and triggering a humanitarian crisis. Angola, in early August, mediated a fragile truce that stabilized the situation at the front line. But since the end of October, the M23 has been on the march against and continued to carry out localized offenses. Despite violations of the ceasefire, the DRC and Rwanda are maintaining diplomatic dialogue through Angola's mediation. Namibia's leading opposition presidential candidate, Penduleni Itula, has announced that his party will not recognize the result of the country's controversially extended election. Speaking just before polls closed on the final day of voting, Itula, leader of the Independent Patriots for Change, accused the process of being marred by chaos and alleged foul play. He noted that regardless of the outcome, the IPC shall not recognize the result of this election. He further stated that his party would pursue legal avenues to nullify the election, urging President Nangolo Mbumba to convene an emergency cabinet meeting to address the situation. The election marks a critical juncture as the IPC seeks to challenge the 34-year rule of the Southwest Africa People's Organization. Earlier, writing fellow African Liberty Eugenie Kandanga shared her thoughts on this.
Actually, it was even published in the newspapers here that someone was found with two voting cards, duplicates, with different voting numbers, but it's the same identity. So, and then people were wondering how was this possible, because the registration process was supposed to be, seamless, and it was supposed to be tight, in terms of avoiding duplications, and because this could lead to someone voting twice and enabling one party to have more results. But that was identified, of course. I don't know how that happened. I don't know what they're doing about that. Other irregularities were just the fact that the machines weren't working. Some of the mobile polling stations left before people could actually cast their votes, and people were in the queues for long hours. I was in the queue from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. and that is quite a long time, just to mark two X's on two papers. You shouldn't be in line for hours, So yeah, those were some of the things that I experienced. And
ahead, U.S. President Joe Biden pardons son Hunter Biden over 2 criminal cases. We've got the details only if you come back after the break. And you're welcome back. U.S. President Joe Biden has issued an official pardon for his son, Hunter Biden, who was facing sentencing for 2 criminal cases, despite previously ruling out that he was going to pardon him. In a statement, the president said his son had been singled out and called his cases a miscarriage of justice. Hunter Biden pleaded guilty to tax charges earlier in September and was found guilty of being an illegal drug user in possession of a gun in June, becoming the first child of a sitting president to be convicted of a crime. For News Central, international correspondent Afia Hagen here has more.
behind.
President Joe Biden announced that he has pardoned his son Hunter Biden, who faced sentencing this month for federal tax and gun convictions, marking a reversal as he prepares to leave office. Today, I signed a pardon for my son Hunter, the president said in a statement. It's a full and unconditional pardon, according to a copy of the executive grant of clemency. This official grant of clemency cannot be rescinded by President-elect Donald Trump. By pardoning his son, Joe Biden has reneged on a public promise that he made repeatedly before and after dropping out of the 2024 presidential race. The president and his top White House spokesperson said unequivocally, including after Trump won the 2024 election, that he would not pardon Hunter Biden or commute his sentence. This pardon now means that Hunter Biden won't be sentenced for his crimes, and it eliminates any chance that he'll be sent to prison, which was a possibility. The judges overseeing his cases will likely cancel the sentencing hearings, which were slated for December 12th in the gun case and December 16th in the tax case. In a social media post, President-elect Trump called the pardon such an abuse and miscarriage of justice. In an apparent joke, Trump also asked whether the pardon includes his supporters who attacked the U.S. Capitol during the January 6, 2021 insurrection, whom he has promised to pardon once he's back in office. Joe Biden justified the pardon by pointing out that few people are charged with the addiction-related gun offences without aggravating factors, such as using the weapon as part of a violent crime. He also argued that many people who pay back all of their late taxes, like Hunter did, are allowed to resolve their problems through civil enforcement instead of facing criminal charges. The president further claimed Hunter Biden was singled out for prosecution only because he is my son, allegations that were previously raised by Hunter Biden's lawyers and resoundingly rejected by 2 federal judges. This is the latest instance of an outgoing president using the pardon power to help a family member. Shortly before they both left office, Bill Clinton pardoned his brother, and Donald Trump pardoned the father of his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. For News Central, I'm Afia Hagan.
Hearing at the UN's top court have opened with Vanuatu urging action to secure the planet's future, marking a historic case to define countries' legal obligations on climate change. Over 100 nations and organizations are presenting at the International Court of Justice, the ICJ, the largest participation in its history. Vanuatu's climate representatives, Ralph Regenvanu, called the case the most consequential in human history, saying its outcome will shape generations. Activists hope the ICJ's opinion will drive legal and legislative action, though concerns persist about its non-binding nature and lengthy timeline. Demonstrators outside the Peace Palace urged climate finance and justice. The hearing follows COP29 in Azerbaijan, where wealthy nations pledged $300 billion annually by 2035 for clean energy transitions, a move developing nations criticized as insufficient amidst worsening climate impacts. And China has called on the United States to stop meddling with Taiwan after a 20-minute call between former U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Taiwan President Lai Ching-te. Chinese Foreign Minister spokesman Ling Zhan urged the U.S. to recognize the pro-independence stance of Lai and Taiwan's Democratic Progressive Party, the DPP, warning that Taiwan independence activities threaten the peace in the Taiwan Strait. He reiterated China's demand for adherence to the One China principle and the Three China-U.S. joint communiques. Lin emphasized that the U.S. should cease interfering in China's internal affairs and stop supporting Taiwan's separatist forces.
我们敦促美方认清赖清德和民进党当局的台独本性，认清台独分裂行径对台海和平稳定的严重危害，恪守一个中国原则和中美3个联合公报，停止插手台湾事务、干涉中国内政，停止支持纵容台独分裂势力。
cultural cooperation with Mexico has become a priority for Spain, according to Spanish Culture Minister Ernest Urtasun, while speaking at the Guadalajara International Airport, or rather International Book Fair, I beg your pardon. This statement comes amid growing diplomatic tension between the two countries. Tensions have risen since Spain decided not to send representatives to the swearing-in of Mexico's new president, leftist Claudia Sheinbaum, after she failed to invite the Spanish king to the inauguration. Despite the diplomatic strain, Urtasun emphasized Spain's commitment to strengthening cultural ties with Mexico, underlining the importance of collaboration in this area.
Para mí, desde que llegué al cargo, siempre ha sido una prioridad la cooperación cultural con México, ¿no? Y desde luego, nosotros desde el Ministerio de Cultura nos hemos esforzado siempre en que esa cooperación cultural sea lo más fructífera y lo más dinámica posible, ¿no? Y estoy muy...
Por desgracia, no solo en España, no solo aquí, en todo el mundo, la política está siendo cada vez más sectaria y cada vez está hecha por gente, por políticos que lo que quieren es salvar su propio... Creo que la petición de perdón de AMLO a España era populista, o sea, forma parte de ese tipo de actos políticos vacíos que lo que quieren, que lo que buscan no es un logro para la sociedad, sino que es un logro partidista para la propia persona, ¿vale?
The Central Bank of Nigeria has introduced updated guidelines for the Nigerian foreign exchange market. These new regulations unify all foreign exchange windows into a single framework, clarifying the roles of market participants and implement stricter compliance and transparency standards. The electronic FX matching system is anticipated to resolve the disparity between the current Naira to dollar exchange rate and the Naira's actual market value. Now, all foreign exchange transactions must be priced through a centralized platform with daily FX rates made publicly accessible. On the program Business Edge, Oladipo Ajay, head of fixed income and forex at Chapel Hill, Denham, expressed his views on the innovation and its potential impact.
Time for them to actually tidy up and actually put their house in order. The implementation, and I think they give them ample time around that. So a lot of them are very much prepared for today's launch, and I'm sure they are already ready for the requirements. And like I said earlier on, it will help the markets actually. It will collapse market into one single market. I've said every time with that number that one of the things that is putting pressure on Naira at the parallel market segment is invisible demands, and where people need to pay school fees, you are traveling, and medical tourism. These people are not adequately catered for. But now what the window has allowed is that whether you are coming for
2024 has been a pivotal year for Nigeria's oil and gas sector, marked by significant developments and persistent challenges. From the launch of the Dangote refinery to the NNPC's declaration of a state of emergency on oil production, the sector has experienced a whirlwind of activities. A guest in Business Edge, Femi Oladehin, principal partner at Gentil Partners, shared his thoughts on the Dangote refinery's claim that NNPC is unable to deliver on the agreed 385,000 barrels per day.
Is that NNPC has no crude to give Dangote. You would realize that there have been significant pre-contracts that were entered into by the NNPC, pledging its barrels to different financings and just basically meeting its own ongoing contractual obligations. And I've always said this. The fact that Dangote refinery was built without clear commercial structures to guarantee its supply is an indictment on the company and its financiers. Look, I've been doing project finance for about 25 years of my career now, and no one is ever going to fund a company that doesn't have both supply guarantees and off-takers. So the fact that this happened in itself is a problem, and unfortunately, there is a Latin saying that nemo dat quod non habet, which means that you can't give what you don't have. The reality here.
Now, sports head coach Augustin Agravon has invited 30 players, or a total of 30 players, to camp as the Nigeria Football Federation activates its commitment to ensuring the qualification of the Super Eagles B for next year's African Nations Championship finals. The 8th edition of the Continental Championship, reserved exclusively for footballers plying their trade with clubs in their country's domestic leagues and possessing standard contracts, is scheduled to run the length of February 2025 in Kenya, Uganda, and also Tanzania. All the invited players have been instructed to arrive at the Remo Star Sports Institute Ikene Remo, Ogun, on Wednesday, 4th December 2024, where the team will train ahead of the first leg of the qualification fixture against Ghana's Black Stars B, billed for the Accra Sports Stadium on Sunday 22nd in December. West Ham attacking midfielder Mohamed Kudus will return to action in midweek after completing his 5-game suspension. The Ghana international served a lengthy ban following his red card in the game against Tottenham on October 19. Kudus will join his teammates for the trip to the Midlands to face Leicester City on Tuesday, December 3rd. The 24-year-old was punished for improper conduct and violent behavior after clashing with Spurs player Mickey van der Ven and Pepe Mata Sarr in the Premier League game. He was initially banned for 3 games before the punishment was extended, and he was also fined £60,000. Kudus' absence largely affected the Hammers, who secured only a win in the 5-game run. And that's all this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the stories we brought your way. Inspector General of Police has ordered investigation into police culpability in deaths and arrests of demonstrators during End Bad Governance protests in August. Scores of bandits have been killed by Nigerian troops in anti-terror response in Zamfara state. And we also told you that Angola has sued for peace in eastern DRC, hosts talks between DR Congo and Rwanda. Thank you very much for watching News Central Live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Able TV, and on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.